Have you ever wondered why every time you chase after a job, it seems to run further away? Why doors close, opportunities vanish, and yet deep inside there's a quiet voice saying, don't look for it, become it. The spiritual path to manifestation never begins with an application. It begins with an assumption. When I had nothing, I didn't panic. I closed my eyes and walked through the invisible office, shook invisible hands, heard invisible congratulations, and life obeyed. The outer mirrors the inner. Always. You don't get the job when you look, you get it when you believe you already have it. There is no hiring manager, no resume, no market condition more powerful than your imagination. If you can imagine being in the job, the law must produce it. This world is a shadow. The real world is the one where you imagine your position, your salary, your impact. That is the only reality. The rest is a fading echo. You're not here to work for survival. You're here to serve your divine blueprint. That's why chasing jobs never satisfies. The universe resists slavery and rewards divine alignment. When you stop looking and start listening to the call within, work becomes worship and purpose becomes your employer. There were moments when I had nothing, and yet I smiled, not from foolish hope, but divine knowing. Being jobless was not a curse, it was space. Space to imagine greater, space to align. If you're without work, thank God. He's removing the lesser so you can embody the greater. Stop acting from lack. Begin to act from fullness. Dress like you already have it. Speak like it's done. Feel the weight of your new responsibility, the fulfillment of contribution, the gratitude of provision. Then the bridge will form, not through effort, but through alignment. The work is spiritual long before it's physical. You were taught to labor, strive, struggle. But the truth is, you are to enter rest. Rest in the knowing, rest in the unseen. It is from that rest that faith emerges, and faith creates. Faith does not beg, it moves mountains. Effort wears down the body. Faith moves through the spirit. Anxious minds cannot create. Desperate energy repels what is desired. You are not the tail, you are the head. Let go of timelines. Let go of panic. Let go of checking emails and begging for callbacks. Instead, sit in silence and see yourself as already chosen. That vibration alone will send ripples into the world. When you stop searching and start assuming, when you stop asking and begin receiving, life unfolds in miraculous ways. You begin to work not from force but from flow. The universe needs no resume. It reads your vibration. Align with purpose, and employment aligns with you. The greatest mistake is to assume that reality must be earned, chased, or begged for. You do not climb your way into destiny, you awaken into it. To assume you already have the job is not mere positive thinking. It is not an act of delusion. It is the only creative act there is. Everything that appears in your world comes forth from your internal state of being. If you believe that you are unemployed, if you identify with being lost, confused, or in need, then you clothe that belief in fact. But if you reverse it and take the bold step of assumption, the world has no choice but to conform. Many would argue and say, but I cannot lie to myself. I do not have a job, and pretending I do is deception. Yet they miss the secret. Assumption is not pretending. It is choosing the state you wish to occupy. It is not a lie. It is a law. Just as night follows day, manifestation follows assumption. It is not what you want that manifests. It is what you accept as true. You must dare to believe something higher than your senses report. You must live inwardly in the end, even while the beginning seems barren. The outer is always late. It is a sinuous reflection, not the cause. I once found myself with nothing, no job, no title, not even direction. But I had imagination, and that was enough. I closed my eyes and walked through an office that didn't yet exist. I could smell the furniture, feel the desk beneath my hands. I heard a secretary greet me as I passed by. I felt the weight of responsibility, the satisfaction of contribution, the gratitude of income. And each night I returned to that scene, replaying it like a sacred ritual until it became more real to me than the empty apartment where I slept. It was not easy, for the senses screamed otherwise. But I did not waver. I persisted. I refused to look for a job in the outer world while I already possessed it in the inner. Then one day, suddenly, but not by accident, the opportunity came, the phone call, the meeting, the position. But make no mistake, it did not come because I chased it. It came because I already owned it. The world rearranged itself to reflect my assumption. The outer world had no choice but to bow to the inner. You see, the job was never out there. It was within, all along. To assume you already have the job is to claim dominion over reality, not in arrogance, but in alignment with the truth. You are not a servant of the world. The world is a servant to your imagination. When you sit quietly and feel yourself to be what you long to be, you plant the seed of creation. That seed may be invisible, but it is growing. Just as a tree emerges from a tiny seed, so your new role, your new income, your new position will break through the soil of time. But it begins in silence, in stillness, in assumption. Do not worry about the how. The bridge of incidents will form, the people will come, the opportunity will find you. But not if you cling to lack, not if you say it isn't here yet. Every time you say I need a job, you declare yourself separate from the state of employment. Every time you say I hope they call, you affirm that you are not chosen. The truth is you are chosen the moment you choose yourself, and the world must follow suit. Let me be clear. The imagination is not passive, it is creative. The feeling of already having what you desire is the power that shapes all things. If you feel the joy of being hired, the stability of income, the purpose of contribution, then these things are already yours, not in the future, in the eternal now. There is no power outside of you that grants these things. They come forth from the invisible power that breathes your thoughts into form. So sit down, turn inward, and assume, not wishfully, not conditionally, but with finality, I have the job. Let that be your declaration. Let it be your prayer. Let it be the state from which you think, move, speak, and sleep. When doubts come, and they will, do not fight them. Simply return to the and. Return to the office in your mind, the contract in your hand, the joy in your heart. Let that be your dwelling place. Your outer world is always a delayed echo. It is not your master, it is your mirror. And when you see that the mirror reflects only what you are within, then you will stop chasing jobs and start assuming them. The job belongs to the one who believes it is already his. So be still and know, assume and receive. This is the key. This is the only way, and it works unfailingly for all who dare to believe. Imagination is the only reality. Everything else is merely its shadow. This truth stands above all other truths because it reveals the secret foundation upon which the seen world is built. The world you touch, the world you walk through, the world you believe is so solid and unchangeable, is nothing but a reflected image of your own inner state. You were not born to respond to reality, you were born to create it. And the only instrument granted to you for that sacred task is imagination. Not imagination in the way the world defines it, as mere fantasy or idle daydreaming, but imagination as the divine act of creation itself. If you want a new job, a new role, a new experience of work, you do not begin with effort. You begin with vision. The position already exists within you. You are not trying to make it real. You are recognizing it as already real in the unseen. To imagine yourself in that role is not fiction. It is fact. The moment you occupy that feeling state, the image begins to press itself out into form. The senses are not the creators, they are the reporters. They show you what has already been impressed upon the field of reality. But that impression does not come from external force. It comes from inner acceptance. That is why imagination is the only reality. It is the first cause. All else follows. If a man imagines himself hired and truly believes in the reality of that scene, he is already employed in the dimension that matters. The physical world may not yet echo the tone, but it must. It cannot help itself, for imagination creates reality not by effort, but by law. There is no chance, no delay, no miscommunication in the language of the soul. What you assume to be true and persist in as real becomes. A job is not a location. It is not a desk or a paycheck. It is a state of consciousness. And you can enter that state before ever receiving the phone call. You can live in that reality without needing any external permission. The outer world may look at you and say, but nothing has happened. And you can smile because you know everything has already happened. It is simply unfolding in time. To imagine yourself doing the work, interacting with your colleagues, feeling the satisfaction of contribution is to build the structure in the invisible. And once the structure is built there, the physical must catch up. It is not your business to know how. It is not your job to figure out the steps. The bridge will form under your feet. The right people will call, the right message will come. But all of it begins with the image held and believed in the theater of your mind. This is why you must guard your imagination. Do not use it to rehearse lack. Do not use it to repeat rejection. Do not dwell in memories of failure or fear. Every thought you allow to take root in your inner world must eventually bear fruit in the outer. And just as you would not plant weeds in a garden you hope to harvest, so too must you refuse to entertain images that contradict your desired state. If you truly understood the power of your imagination, you would never again doubt. You would never again complain or worry or chase. You would sit still, close your eyes, and assume. Assume the state desired, feel it, rest in it. Let it saturate your being. Let it become more real than the room around you. Then go about your day not in desperation, but in quiet confidence, knowing that the seed has been planted and must grow. There is no imagination too bold, no dream too big, no desire too great. The only limit is the limit of belief. If you will persist in the assumption, it must become fact. This is not magic, it is law. The law responds not to effort, but to embodiment. You must become the thing you wish to experience. You must see it, feel it, believe it, and then rest in that knowing. So if you are without a job, if the doors appear closed, let it not disturb you. Turn within. Imagine the door already open. Hear the congratulations. See the signature on the offer letter. Walk through the office in your mind. Speak with your co-workers. Solve problems. Take pride in your work. Feel the joy of purpose. Make it so real that the world around you fades in comparison. And when you open your eyes, carry that feeling with you. Live from it. Speak from it. Think from it. Not as one hoping, but as one possessing. This is the sacred use of imagination, to bring forth what the world cannot see yet, to live from the invisible until the visible must align. For imagination is not wishful thinking. It is the mold into which the world must be poured. And once you understand this, you no longer ask for permission. You create the reality you desire. You were not sent into this world merely to survive. You were not born to labor endlessly under someone else's vision or to sell your time in exchange for sustenance. You are not here simply to earn your keep and wait for rest at the end of the week. You came into this world with a divine purpose, and until that purpose is acknowledged and honored, no job will ever truly satisfy. That is why so many chase career after career, workplace after workplace, and still find themselves restless. It is because they are serving function but not fulfilling essence. Divine purpose is not about employment. It is about expression. It is not about finding a title to hold or a company to join. It is about discovering the sacred thing you came here to give. That discovery does not happen by sending out hundreds of resumes or attending countless interviews. It happens in silence. It happens when you turn within and listen. Not with your ears, but with your spirit. That still, small voice that whispers what you would do if there were no fear, if there were no judgment, if there were no limitation. That is the voice of your divine purpose. Many people think they must find work in order to survive, but they have misunderstood the order of things. They believe they must first act, then align, but the truth is the reverse. First, you align with your inner vision. First, you see it, assume it, live in it inwardly. Then, and only then, does the world bring forth the reflection. Divine purpose is the blueprint. The work that emerges is only the shadow of that inner alignment. If you continue to look for a job before finding your purpose, you will always be a servant to circumstance. You will go wherever the wind blows, never rooted in true meaning. But once you find your purpose and dwell in it, even if only in imagination, the world begins to reshape. Opportunities arrive, not because you looked, but because you became. Employers sense it. Circumstances bend toward it. Everything organizes around the one who is internally ordered. Do not mistake action for direction. Many act feverishly and still go nowhere. Others sit in stillness and move the world. Purpose does not scream. It does not compete. It waits for you to be still long enough to hear it. And when you do, the work you once sought now seeks you. You become a magnet, not a beggar. You radiate something greater than a qualification. You radiate conviction. This is why the instruction is to stop looking for a job and start remembering who you are. Because when you remember, you no longer need to convince anyone to hire you. You walk in the fullness of your calling, and the world recognizes it, even if it doesn't understand it at first. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to market yourself. When you are aligned with divine purpose, life unfolds in ways no resume ever could. Doors open because you already walked through them in spirit. There are many who sit at desks they despise, in buildings that drain them, doing tasks that mean nothing to them. All because they never paused to ask what they were truly made for. They feared not having, so they never dared to become. But when you step out of that fear and step into your truth, even in imagination, the fear begins to dissolve. You realize you were never meant to trade your soul for a salary. You were meant to give your gift. And in giving it, all things would be added unto you. So if you are unemployed or stuck in a job that does not fulfill you, give thanks. For you are being invited into deeper clarity. You are being pushed not by misfortune, but by grace. Life is not punishing you. It is positioning you. The discomfort is the signal. The silence is the sacred pause before the transformation. What you must do now is go within, sit quietly and ask yourself, not what you can do to earn, but what you would do if money were not a concern. What would you create? What would you contribute? What vision lights your heart on fire? And then begin, not with outer movement, but inner embodiment. See yourself doing that thing. Feel the joy of it. Live in the end of it and trust that the outer world will catch up. Do not run after tasks. Do not chase employment as if it were your source. Your source is within. And when you honor it, everything you once sought begins to appear. Not because you went after it, but because you finally allowed it to come to you. There is a place already prepared for you, not because someone else made it, but because you made it in your imagination. That is your divine inheritance. Not the job, but the alignment. Not the task, but the truth. And once you remember it, you'll never need to search again. There was a time when the world around me appeared to collapse. The avenues I had once pursued closed their doors one after another. There were no offers, no appointments, and not even a hopeful interview on the calendar. And yet, I felt no fear. In fact, I felt strangely at peace. Because in that moment, when I appeared to be jobless, I was not without direction. I was full of knowing. I'd learned something deeper than the world of appearances could ever offer. Being jobless is not the absence of provision. It is the invitation to trust in the invisible. You may believe that without employment you are falling behind. You may feel the pressure to explain your situation, to justify your worth, to earn the right to exist. But these are all illusions projected by a world that does not understand spiritual law. When you trust God, truly trust, not in words, but in the deep, silent substance of your heart, you realize that every perceived void is not a punishment, but a repositioning. Being jobless, in the language of the world, is often the only doorway through which the soul can walk into its next level of power. People fear unemployment because they have forgotten where their source is. They think the employer is the provider. They believe their paycheck sustains them. But it is not so. The true provider is not the corporation, not the economy, not the contact in your phone. The source is within, always was and always will be. When all else is stripped away, you are finally left with the only power that ever truly mattered, your consciousness. Trusting God in the absence of evidence is the highest form of faith. It is the moment when you are not leaning on credentials or networks, but leaning entirely upon the creative power within you. This trust is not passive. It is not waiting by the window for life to change. This trust is active. It imagines, it assumes, it walks, as if what is unseen is already seen. And in doing so, it calls that unseen thing into visibility. There is a sacredness in the space between jobs, a sacred pause, a womb of silence where the next reality is conceived. But many miss this moment because they are panicking. They rush, they plead, they declare themselves cursed or abandoned. But those who understand the law know this season for what it is, a spiritual gestation. Not a delay, but a preparation. Not the end, but the invisible beginning. When you are jobless and trusting God, you are walking a narrow path, one that very few dare to take. It is easy to trust when the bank is full and the calendar is busy, but when everything appears still and the world no longer gives you evidence to lean on, that is when the truth of your inner conviction is revealed. If you can stand still and say, "It is done," even when the world says it is not, then you have truly mastered the creative process. I have walked through seasons where there was no income, and yet I lived better than when I was employed. I have seen food appear, doors open, money arrive, not because I earned it, but because I imagined and trusted. I saw myself provided for. I saw myself useful and wanted. I imagined people blessing me, thanking me, needing me. And because I remained faithful to those unseen realities, they took shape and became my daily experience. You are not without a job, you are without fear, and that is far more powerful. You are not unemployed, you are unbound. You are not stuck, you are being sanctified. You are not late, you are being led. What the world calls a setback is often the divine stage being cleared for a more fitting performance. And only those who trust in silence ever get to take that stage. So if you find yourself without work, do not lower your imagination. Do not shrink your vision. Expand it, see more, desire greater. Close your eyes and enter the office you've never been to. See your name on the door. Feel the texture of your new reality. Smell the aroma of success. Let it flood your senses until you forget what lack feels like. And then walk as that person. Let your steps match your state. Let your words echo your assumption. Let your mood reflect your inner truth. You do not need confirmation from the world. The world is a mirror. It cannot initiate, it can only reflect. So if you begin to carry the attitude, the confidence, the poise of one who is already employed in divine purpose, then the world must bow. It must bring into form that which you carry within yourself. Being jobless is not the loss it appears to be. It is a divine invitation to operate at a higher level of creation. It is a call to abandon the illusion of control and step fully into the authority of your imagination. When you do that, when you trust without proof, believe without evidence, and live without fear, then the invisible becomes visible, the impossible becomes routine, and what once eluded you now seeks you out. To manifest a job spiritually, you must begin not with motion, but with imagination. The world has trained you to act first, to seek, to chase, to knock endlessly on doors until one opens. But spiritual law requires a reversal. The job is not found by searching, it is summoned by assumption. It does not arrive because you move in panic, it arrives because you stand still in conviction. The spiritual approach is not based on effort, it is based on identity. If you can become it within, you will see it without. That is the only true way to manifest what is yours. The first and only step is this: feel it real, not wistfully, not occasionally, but faithfully. Each night before sleep, lie down and imagine your day not as it is, but as you desire it to be. Picture yourself walking into the workplace that exists now only in your imagination. Smell the building, touch the walls, hear the voices greeting you, receive the congratulations, shake the hands, look at your name on the badge or door, see it vividly. Hear the hum of the office, the rhythm of productivity, the praise of your contribution. Do not imagine it as if it might happen someday. Imagine it as though it is happening now. This inner scene is not fantasy. It is the true substance of creation. All things must be born twice, first in the invisible, then in the visible. Most people try to reverse the order. They wait for the physical to believe it is real. But the physical is a mirror. You cannot change the reflection by touching the glass. You must alter the face that stands before it. The spiritual way to manifest employment is to embody it inwardly until the world bends to your inner state. Then you say, but I don't know how it will happen. I don't have the connections, the qualifications, or the opportunity. That is irrelevant. You are not asked to know the path. You are asked only to assume the destination. The bridge of incidents will form, but that is not your business. Your task is not to build the bridge. Your task is to dwell in the end, to feel it done. And when you do, life orchestrates itself around your assumption. You must act from the state, not toward it. If you desire to manifest a job, ask yourself this: how would I feel if it were already mine? How would I stand? How would I speak? What would I wear? What would I expect each day? Then begin to carry yourself in that way, not for show, not for others, but because you know the truth. You are already it in the unseen. Begin to make room in your life for what is coming. Clear a space for your new schedule. Prepare your wardrobe. Wake up as though you have somewhere to be. Thank the unseen for the provision already made. This is not pretending. This is spiritual alignment. You are not waiting. You are welcoming. The job is not something outside of you. It is a state of being already planted within you. You are not searching. You are receiving. The more vivid your inner world becomes, the more irrelevant the outer becomes, because the outer must eventually reflect the inner. Let your imagination lead. Let it teach you how to feel, how to think, how to move. When you catch yourself worrying, when fear speaks in the voice of logic, return to the feeling. Return to the job in your mind. Return to the position you already hold in spirit. That is the secret doorway through which all things enter. You must feel the weight of your responsibility, not the burden, but the honor of having meaningful work. You must feel the satisfaction of being useful, the joy of contribution, the confidence of provision. Feel it now before a single thing is changed. Let it move you. Let it stir you. Let it become so real that you no longer doubt. The moment you stop reacting to what is and begin responding to what you have assumed, creation begins. This is the spiritual method. It does not require effort but faith. It does not require influence but awareness. If you feel it long enough and deep enough, the world will deliver its echo. And you will see, not because you tried harder, but because you believed. You will look back and realize that what the world calls luck was only the result of spiritual law unfolding as it always does, for those who dare to feel in advance. So don't ask where the job is. Don't wait for the email. Don't rehearse lack. Instead, rehearse fullness. Speak from it, think from it, walk from it. Know that what you hold in consciousness, you will hold in your hands. And the day will come when you enter the place you first built in imagination and realize it was yours all along. The world teaches you to work harder, to labor day and night, to prove your worth through sweat and struggle. But spiritual law speaks a different language. It calls you not to work by effort, but by faith. And this faith is not merely belief in something unseen. It is the conviction that what you desire already exists and is yours now. That is the highest form of work. Not the toil of the body, but the stillness of spirit that assumes the end, feels it real, and trusts in its inevitable appearance. Faith is not the absence of action, it is action of a higher order. It is the decision to feel the result before it becomes visible. It is to walk in the mood of fulfillment before there is any evidence. It is to speak as if the world has already changed, to believe without wavering that the thing imagined is more real than what the senses report. This is the true labor, to hold steady in the inner reality when the outer still appears unchanged. You've been trained to strive, to push, to apply, reapply, to hustle and chase. But that path often leads to exhaustion, not fulfillment. It wears down the soul. It fosters doubt, impatience, and resentment. And worst of all, it denies your true nature as a spiritual being, not here to compete, but to create. When you work through effort, you forget the law. But when you work through faith, you allow the law to work for you. You must understand, what you see around you is not the cause, it is the effect. The cause is within you. It is the state of consciousness from which you operate. If you persist in the belief that you must earn your right to receive, then you will always be bound to effort. But if you embrace the knowing that your assumption is creative, that your imagination is law, then you begin to understand what true work is. It is the inner arrangement of thought, the discipline of emotion, the stillness of belief. This inner work is invisible, but its fruit is undeniable. When you work through faith, you no longer ask, how will this happen? You no longer search for methods or tactics. You rest in the knowing that the thing is done. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your atmosphere changes. You become the one who already has, and in that shift, life begins to respond. People sense something different in you. Opportunities appear without force. The bridge of incidents begins to form, not because you demanded it, but because you became the person for whom it is natural. Faith is not loud. It does not argue or convince. It simply knows. It stands still while the world spins. It remains unmoved by delay. It does not chase, it attracts. And this attraction is not magnetic in the worldly sense, but magnetic in spirit. Because what you are within must come to match you without. If you are full inside, the world reflects fullness. If you are certain within, the world reveals confirmation. This is the harvest of faith. You must be vigilant in your imagination, not desperate, but devoted. Devoted to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, devoted to the end, not the process, devoted to the unseen, even when the visible seems empty. When you remain faithful to your assumption, despite what the facts say, you are doing the most powerful work there is. You are demonstrating mastery over reality. And that mastery does not come through struggle, but through surrender. Surrender to the truth that what you have imagined exists now. To work through faith is to stand in your living room and give thanks for a job that has not yet arrived. It is to feel gratitude for the paycheck you do not yet see. It is to wake each morning with purpose even when the calendar is blank. This is not foolishness. This is alignment. You are aligning your inner world with the reality you wish to experience, and by law, the outer must conform. It is far easier to work through faith than to work through fear. Fear drives you to action without rest, to solutions without peace. It exhausts you. It tells you the answer is out there, but faith speaks in a whisper. The answer is within. Active, inspired, yes, but never out of desperation. When faith leads, the action is simple, guided, effortless. One phone call, one meeting, one moment of perfect timing. That is how the bridge forms. So you must ask yourself daily, am I working from fear or from faith? Am I trying to make things happen, or am I assuming they already have? Am I reacting to the world, or am I creating it from within? These questions will show you your true posture. And when you see that you've been trying too hard, stop. Sit down, breathe, return to the end, feel it real, and then let life do what it has always been designed to do, mirror you. Anxious minds cannot create. The state of anxiety, of constant checking, comparing, and questioning is the very state that prevents manifestation. It blocks the power of assumption because it is rooted in doubt. Anxiety is the emotional evidence that you are imagining the wrong end. It is the child of fear. And fear is always the product of imagining that what you desire will not come to pass. If you truly knew that your desire was already fulfilled, there would be no anxiety. There would be peace, confidence, and rest. And so the first spiritual discipline is not action. It is the letting go of anxiety, the choosing of trust, the acceptance of inner peace as proof that creation is already complete. The anxious person looks constantly to the world for confirmation. They check their email dozens of times a day, reread job applications, watch the clock, and measure time as though delay is a sign of denial. But nothing in the outer world can give peace to the one who has not assumed the end within. The world has no answers. It only reflects. If the mirror shows distress, it is not the mirror that needs changing. It is the face that stands before it. To let go of job anxiety is to reclaim your divine authority. It is to step out of the posture of a beggar and into the posture of a creator. No one who knows they are the source of their world worries about appearances. They walk in calm. They walk in silence. They walk in faith. This is not indifference. It is certainty. It is the serenity that comes from knowing that what you have imagined with conviction is already planted in the field of reality and must ripen in time. Letting go is not giving up. It is the highest form of commitment. It is saying, because I know it is done, I no longer need to worry. I no longer need to push or prod. I no longer need to ask the same question again and again. You ask once, and then you receive in spirit. And once you have received in spirit, you rest. This rest is not laziness, it is the quiet power of spiritual alignment. When a person is filled with job anxiety, they are seeing themselves as separate from their desire. They are standing outside the experience, hoping to be let in. But manifestation does not work that way. You must move into the state internally, claim it and wear it like a second skin. If you imagine yourself already working, already valued, already paid, already needed, and persist in that assumption, the outer world must conform. But the anxious mind cannot persist in anything. It jumps from fear to fear, from lack to lack, hoping that something outside will finally provide relief. You must train your inner conversations. Each time the voice of fear rises and says, but what if nothing changes? You must answer it, not with argument, but with authority. You say, it is already done, and you return again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The repetition is not effort, it is refinement. It is returning to your center, to your truth, to your chosen reality. This world is not against you, it is responding to you. And if it reflects anxiety, it is because that is the signal being broadcast from within. Change the signal and you change the scene. Choose calm. Choose conviction. Choose to let go, not in resignation, but in dominion. You are not waiting for the job, you are aligning with it. You are not hoping for an opportunity, you are becoming the version of yourself who already lives in it. Let go of job anxiety by changing the meaning of delay. Delay is not denial. Delay is the rearrangement of circumstances to make your vision possible. It is the unfolding of events in perfect sequence. But if you judge the seed for not sprouting the day after it is planted, you will dig it up and destroy it. You must let the seed remain in the soil of faith. Water it with imagination. Feed it with gratitude and leave it alone long enough to grow. Anxiety is noise. Faith is silence. The one who creates spiritually must fall in love with silence. The silence between the prayer and its answer. The silence between imagining and its manifestation. In that silence you find your true power. You find that the need to control disappears. The desire to chase dissolves. You walk as one who already has. And in doing so, you prove to the world that anxiety is not strength, it is weakness. True strength is quiet. It trusts. It expects. So you let go of job anxiety today, not because something changed in the outer world, but because you decided that the inner world is more real than the outer world will follow. Not because of luck or timing, but because that is the law. What you are within, you will be without. Let go of fear. Let go of need. Let go of timelines. Return to the feeling. rest in the state, and let creation fulfill itself through you. You were never meant to pursue the outer world. You were meant to align inwardly, and the outer world would follow. Alignment is not passive. It is powerful. It means to come into agreement with the truth that already exists in the unseen. It means to feel, without contradiction, that your desire is fulfilled. When you align with your divine purpose, employment becomes effortless, work becomes an extension of identity, and life begins to move with you instead of against you. Most people look to the world for signs. They ask, is this the right opportunity? Should I go here or there? What's the best strategy? But they are asking in the wrong direction. The outer cannot instruct the inner. It only reflects it. Until a person becomes still enough to hear the whisper of their divine purpose, they will remain bound to the noise of the world. They will chase jobs, seek validation, and measure success by paychecks instead of peace. But alignment is the quiet choice to believe that your soul already knows where it belongs. It is the decision to dwell in a state of fulfillment before anything outside you confirms it. It is when you stop looking and start remembering. Not remembering a job title or a resume skill, but remembering who you truly are, the spiritual being who chose this life to express something unique, something no one else can do, something no one else was born to give. When you align with your divine purpose, work is no longer a task. It becomes joy, it becomes flow. You stop calculating and start creating. You stop measuring outcomes and start measuring alignment. And alignment always manifests. It is law. What you are inwardly must be expressed outwardly. There is no effort required in that. Only awareness. Only surrender. This alignment begins with imagination. Imagination is not an escape. It is a return to the reality that precedes all visible things. In imagination, you see yourself doing what you love. You hear the applause. You feel the impact. You sense the value of your presence. And in that internal state, you begin to embody a vibration that calls the outer world to reorganize. New doors open, not because you force them, but because you are now a match for what lies behind them. The man or woman alive with divine purpose becomes irresistible. There is something in their walk, in their tone, in their posture. They are not striving, they are not hustling, they are not asking for a place, they are declaring they already have one. And the world, which cannot resist the one who knows, must bend. It may take time, it may come in ways unexpected, but it will come because the inner reality always carves the path for the outer. Your job is not to be clever. Your job is to be clear. Clear in your assumption, clear in your embodiment, clear in your vibration. And clarity only comes when you stop identifying with fear and start identifying with truth. You are not the unemployed. You are not the rejected. You are not the late bloomer. You are the one who has remembered, the one who knows, the one who acts not from need, but from knowing. You may ask, how do I align with my divine purpose if I don't know what it is? And the answer is simple. Feel what brings you life. Feel what excites you, what stirs your spirit, what gives you peace and fire at the same time. Do not look for approval. Do not seek practicality. Divine purpose is rarely practical in the world's eyes. It transcends logic. It is not safe. It is sacred. And when you dare to imagine yourself living it, not someday, but now, you have already begun. You align with your divine purpose by practicing the state of already being it. Not becoming, but being. Not moving toward, but moving from. This is the spiritual key. Move from the state of fulfillment. Speak from it. Think from it, and watch how the world conforms. Those who live in alignment are not anxious about outcomes. They do not force opportunities. They trust that the perfect role is seeking them because it is already theirs in the unseen. They do not react to closed doors. They bless them knowing another will open. They do not panic in the silence. They rest in it. Because the silence is not empty, it is gestating. Something is forming in the invisible, and they know that to interfere with it is to delay it. So they wait, not with worry, but with wonder. When you align with your divine purpose, the energy you once spent chasing can now be used creating. You show up different. You speak different. And without effort, the right people, the right places, the right provisions are drawn to you. Not because you earned them, but because you became them. That is the highest work you can do. And it begins not tomorrow, not after your next application, but now. In this moment of quiet recognition, I already am what I've been seeking. So now you understand why you were told not to look for a job. It was never about the outer search. It was always about the inner awakening. You were not being denied employment. You were being invited into creation. You were not being asked to suffer. You were being asked to remember. To remember that your imagination is the womb of reality, and that your job, your provision, your purpose, your identity all begin and end within you. You have learned now that assumption is the seed and that imagination is the soil. You have been given the authority to live in the end, to enter the state of the wish fulfilled, and to rest there without fear, without doubt, without question. When you imagine yourself employed, needed, valuable, purposeful, you are no longer asking for a job. You are becoming the one who already has it. You are not at the mercy of the economy, nor the job market, nor the gatekeepers of opportunity. You are not dependent on someone else's permission to live the life you desire. The moment you dare to feel it real, to embody the state of fulfillment, everything begins to rearrange itself. This is not wishful thinking. This is law. Let the world say what it wants. Let it insist you must work harder, apply faster, beg louder. You now know the truth. The only work that matters is within. The only door that must open is the one inside your soul. Once you walk through that, all others open automatically. You are divine, you are powerful, and you are already the person you long to become, if only you would assume it to be true and live from that state. The outer will follow. It has no choice. It is only echo. It is only reflection. And reflection must yield to the image you hold within. Do not ask when. Do not ask how. Say only this: it is done. Walk as if, speak as if, think as if, feel as if, and the invisible will become visible, not by effort, but by law, not by striving, but by knowing. You had nothing more to seek, only something to remember. And that remembrance, quiet, certain, and unshakable, is the real employment you came here for. From this place, all things flow. Now go. Imagine boldly, assume faithfully, live fully, and let the world rise to meet the one you've become.